Excuse me. All right. So we are studying the book of Shmuel Aleph, first book of Shmuel, chapter 25, verse 26. We are in the middle of the night between two mountains in a very intense situation. The actors that are on the scene right now are David and his men, 400 of the 600 men, and a few helpers of Abigail, and Abigail herself. Who is Abigail? So Abigail was the wife of a piece of work, an evil man, was very rich. They lived close to the Yamamelach Arad area, and he was celebrating his the shearing festival and was doing very well. And David, who was decided right after the death of Shmuel, decided to disappear and not be right next to Shaul, just in case Shaul changes his mind and want to kill him again. He ran away to the south, to that area, sort of the outskirts of town, the outskirts of the country, and he needed some food and nourishment. So while he was on the run, David and his men were protecting those Jewish shepherds who were running around and taking care of Naval's flocks. So they took care of them, and now it came time to now that we're hungry, we don't have anything, and it's hot, it's in the summer, nothing grows really, because it was the desert area in the summer is not exactly productive. We need some food, so they came to Naval, asked for food. Naval threw them out the house, and they came back to David empty-handed, and David was very, very upset, because this is not a way to act. You got to be charitable. You got to be. You can't throw people out of your house when after, especially after they took care of you, and made sure that you're successful, made sure that you're protected, made sure that you didn't lose one. Terrorist attacks were commonplace in those days in that in that area, because it was the end of the country, and they didn't have a wall, So it was really, really disgusting. So David was really upset at that, and for various reasons, he decided it's time to retaliate and take this man out, and he was ready to go ahead and do it. And someone told the wife of Naval, her name is Abigail. She was the brain and the success behind Naval. She was the one that really made him successful, and she managed the people there. And so one of them came to her and described to her the disgusting behavior of her husband, and told her that basically the consequences are that they might. The consequences are that they basically David and his men will come and try to kill the husband. So she realized that she better do something fast. She put together food for a lot of people, 200 loaves of bread and a whole bunch of hundreds of this and hundreds of that, and a bunch of things, and loaded up on donkeys. Sent the helpers ahead of her to meet David, because she realized that David is on his way to retaliate. And she said, I'll come behind you. And she came, and now we're in the middle of the night, and she met David. And she basically started begging him to not kill her husband. That's basically it. Now, when she told him not to kill the husband, she came up with very, very good reasoning. Why did David want to kill someone who didn't want to give him food like that? Because David felt that he is the king now. After Shmuel passed away, Shmuel is the one that anointed David, and David felt, okay, now that everybody knows, because when Shmuel passed away, he left behind the book of Shmuel, and everybody read in it, and they saw what happened. And, that David is next in line. So even though the acting king was Saul, David felt, and now it's his time. And therefore, the person who refuses to obey the command of a king is punished by death. That's number one. Number two, he felt that that person was not acting in a charitable fashion, in a normal way, and apparently it was a problem in those days that people were not necessarily all kind to each other, and he wanted to make an example out of him and make sure that people won't act that way. And third, he was after what's coming to him. We protected you. The problem is that Abigail disagreed with all three reasons. All three reasons that we mentioned, she disagreed, and let's see how she approaches David, and how she basically she talked him out of killing her husband at the moment. Not that it helped the husband much. We will see he got basically a heart attack for his good behavior and died soon thereafter. But what happens is, she said, and if you see it on the screen, verse 26 and chapter 25, Va'ata Adoni Chai Hashem v'chei nafshecha. Let me read it here. I'm reading it better when I'm looking at it. Chai Hashem v'chei nafshecha Hashem v'na'acha Hashem ibo b'damim v'osha yadcha lach v'ata yu kenaval oivecha v'mavakshim el Adoni ra'a. All right, I'll translate it and then we'll go into it a little bit. So we mentioned that there were three reasons why David wanted to kill him. Number one, the guy was rebelling in the king. Number two, to make an example out of an unkind behavior. And number three, it's coming to us because we protected you. So in the next verse, in the next two verses, Abigail is refuting those three reasons. Ve'ata, each one of the reasons starts with the word ve'ata, and now, ve'ata, and now, my master. It says, as the Lord lives and you live, Hashem had kept you from seeking redress, I don't know what it is, from coming, from dealing with bloods, and He protected you. And he protected you. What does he mean? He said, God sent me to prevent you from dealing with blood. Blood being killing Naval. Because you're not right. You are not right for thinking and demanding that he is rebelling in you being a king. Because she said that you're not a king yet. People don't know who you are. I mean, people do know who you are, but people don't know you as a king. You're known as David, and there is an acting king, and an active king right now, and therefore you cannot. There are no two kings that are ruling at the same time, and God sent me to stop you, because that will be a terrible mistake, and we'll see later. She's comparing it to some mistakes that Saul made when he got angry and he decided that someone rebelling in his in his kingdom, in his authority, he basically killed the whole city. So that's the first reasoning. The second reasoning, she said, "Ve'ata, now you can avalo ivecha v'makshim el Adoni ra'a." She said two reasons. She said that this verse can be read in two ways. The first way, she said, now protect protect Naval, protect my husband, because he is really helpless against you. And therefore you're upset with him for not being kind. You should be kind, because he doesn't really compare to you. He has a lot of sheep, he has maybe a lot of food and a lot of money, but you have 400 men. You are a powerful person. You took out Goliath, right? So he's who is he to harm you? Don't worry about him. It's like nobody is upset when a dog is barking at them. They don't go take a, usually people don't do that. So that's the same thing. So that is one interpretation of this verse. Another interpretation is she's basically telling David, don't worry, this Naval guy is going to be like your enemies. And the enemies of David, one way or the other, disappeared from the scene. So you don't have to worry, and you don't have to think that you need to work hard and kill him, because he's gonna, that's what happens to the enemies of David. They're going away, basically predicting that he's gonna die. I guess she knew. She saw his the last blood test or something. She realized that he's about to check out. But that's one of the reasons that she is called a prophetess, because she predicted the future. And the third reason was, if you recall, that we said that David was demanding what's coming for you to the troops. They were working on protecting Naval. So she said, for that, don't worry, Vata. And now, this here is I brought food. In the beginning, when she sent the kids with the donkeys and the food, David, either they missed David or David didn't realize that it's for him. He thought, they didn't miss. He actually bumped into them, and he thought that this is the end of the party that Naval had, and now they're taking all the food back home. So he didn't touch it. It's not his food. He's not about to start stealing now. But she told him now, listen, this food, you see those donkeys, that's for you. Vata bracha zot, this blessing, asher ivi shivchatcha le'adoni, that your servant brought to the master, to my master. V'nitna lane'arim hamitalchim beraglei adoni, and you should give it to the kids who are walking around here, or you following you. And then she continues. We will see, she's sort of saying things again and again and again and again, because apparently what happened is, and that's not written here, but the rabbis are telling us that David HaMelech was answering her. David HaMelech was not accepting initially what she was demanding, what she was asking. Excuse me. And his face showed it, and apparently some of his answers showed it. So she kept begging, and she said, "Sana lepesha amatecha, ki aso yaseh Hashem le'adoni bait ne'eman." So she said, "You should pardon your mate," because initially we learned it last time. The first line that she came up with, she said, "It's my fault. Don't kill him. It's my fault. I'm running the show in the house. I'm running the show in general there, and I didn't I didn't know. I didn't see your men coming in. Sort of. If you wanted to do something to punish someone, punish me." So he says, "Please." She's repeating that line. He says, "Forgive me. Just forgive me, because ki aso yaseh Hashem le'adoni bait ne'eman." Because, and this is again another reason that the rabbis are saying that she's a prophetess, because she said that God will make, where is it? God will make to you, to my Lord, to my master, bait ne'eman, a trusted home, a durable home, a durable house, suggesting that she is going to participate in that durability of the house, which we will see at the end of the chapter. She eventually, after her husband died, she was requested and agreed to marry David. So this is again another expression of her ability to see the future, and it finishes כי מלחמות השם אדוני נלחם ורעה לא תמצא בך מימיך. So what she was doing now is trying to get David to understand his status in the eyes of God, and how this particular status, he can be lost. He can lose the status if he is going to go through with retaliating and killing Naval. So not only, she said before, it's not justified to kill Naval because of what Naval did, but it's not justified for you, Mr. David, to do it to yourself. What is she saying? She's in the next verse and a half or so, to maybe two verses, three, in the next 2.5 verses, she's mentioning 3 eras, 3 time periods in David's life. The first time period is the initial time period when David came on the scene. כי מלחמות השם אדוני נלחם ורעה לא תמצא בך מימיך. The first time when David became famous is when he killed Goliath, right? That was the first quarter. So she's mentioning that God, that you were fighting the wars of God, and therefore, and the reason you were chosen to fight the wars of God is because God did not find any evil in your hands. You know, if someone, there is in the rules, in the halachot of a war, there is exemptions. So who are the soldiers, who are the people who can be exempt from fighting a war? So exemption number 1, if somebody just got married, the first year of marriage, they're required to be with his bride, so they don't have to go to war. Another exemption is if somebody just bought a house and they didn't have a chance to dedicate the house, so they can go and dedicate the house, because it's it's not fitting that somebody like that will suddenly can get hurt in a war. And a third one, and this is what we're talking about here, is someone who feels that they are not worthy of God protecting them throughout the war. Meaning that they have all kinds of baggage. They have sins. They know what they did. So they're afraid that when they are in a war, this is a good opportunity, a perfect opportunity for God to retaliate. Someone who did bad all their lives, God is not going to create necessarily a special miracle to take him out. But while you're in a war and there are a lot of people dying, so you'll be chosen, God forbid. So someone like that is exempt to begin with from going to war. What she's telling David now, listen, you fought the wars of God, and therefore nothing bad happened to you, and nothing bad exists within your personality, and therefore this killing of Naval should not be the first. Telling him basically that if he's not going to listen to her, he is going to be faulted in a murder. And we will see later how David really appreciated this heads up, so to speak, or appreciated that she talked him out of doing such a terrible thing, something that Saul did not merit. Saul, nobody came to him before he killed the city of Nov, all of the priests, and told him, hey, don't do it because it's not fitting, it's not right, you're not in the just, you're not justified. But here David HaMelech was married and had enough merit for God to send a special messenger, a prophetess, to tell him not to do it. So that's the first era of David's life that she's mentioning. Then Abigail is going to the next verse and saying there is also a second era. What happened after Goliath? The next thing, the significant thing that happened to you, David, is that Saul really started chasing you and was after you, and therefore, vayakem adam lerotfecha, that a man, and she's not mentioning the soul by name because she's very careful not to speak badly about anybody, especially not the king. So she said, "Vayakem adam lerotfecha." A man rose up and requested your life. Was after killing you. Vaita nefesh adonit tzura b'tzura chayim. And now you see what happens. Your soul is being bound in the bound of life. We'll get back to it in a second. And together at Hashem Elokecha, together with God, and your enemies are the ones that will have to run around and from place to place and as if they are being thrown with a slingshot, and they are not going to have respite. So she's predicting. This is like the transition between past and future. The past was that somebody was chasing you, and the future is that don't worry, your soul is going to be bound in the bounds of life. Now, what's happening here is we have very interesting set of words that we use till this very day in different contexts. There is in the Medrash, there is a story of a king who came and gave to his subjects royal clothing, gave them nice garments and royal clothing, and some of them received that gift, and what did they do with it? They cherished it, and they folded nicely and put it in their safe place in the house, and they guarded it. The king gave them a royal piece of clothing. And some people said, "Oh, we have another suit, so let's go to work with it," and they started working with it. And then the king shows up and says, "Okay, now it's time to return what I gave you, because I didn't give it to you as a gift. I just gave it to you as a temporary deposit." And so those who put the clothing aside and guarded it, very nice. So he took the clothing, say thank you very much. You guarded it. They all clean and nice and pressed, and they went home. And those who didn't, were thrown to jail, or were their clothes were taken away from them, and they were went to jail and the clothes went to the cleaners to be cleaned up, because how dare. So the analogy here is that God gave us the body for a temporary amount of time. And the body, this is our clothing. It's a clothing for the soul. And there is a time in every person's history, life, that they have to return the deposit. They have to give back the piece of clothing. And so those who guarded the clothes, those who made sure that their body is pure, that the body is spotless, that they didn't do they didn't perform any wrong things with their body. So the body is being returned, and the soul is going back to be bound in the bounds of life. And this is in the bundle of life, bound in the bundle of life. And this is the exact words that we use in Kel Malei Rachamim, when someone dies, when there is the prayer. In Iskor you mention it as well. Tiyeh nishmato tzura b'tzura chayim, right? So Iskor, Kel Malei Rachamim, all of those, they're using this word. This is the first time that it's mentioned, and it's really the only time it's mentioned, I think, in the Tanakh. Maybe in Tehillim we have one more, I'm not sure. Anyway, but the point is that when someone is doing the right thing, their soul is being bundled together with the good guys. And this is what she's telling him here, Mrs. Abigail. She's telling David, listen, people try to hurt your soul. Don't worry about it, because your soul is going to be bound in the bundle of life, and you're going to be okay. And you should not worry about about ruining it now, because until now it was spotless, and let it stay this way. And all of your enemies, you're worried about this guy that might have been your enemy or acted like he's an enemy. Don't worry, he's going to get the kafakela. What is the kafakela? It's the hollow of a sling, right? So as we all know, in the olden days, in order to break into a city, they would bring a big sling, right, a slingshot, and they would put a big stone on it, and they would crank it and throw the sling. So kafakela, that's that sling. Now, what happens to those who are not guarding their body, or not guarding, not doing the right thing in this world? The Kabbalists are explaining to us exactly what happens after the afterlife. After the afterlife, after someone leaves this world. When someone leaves this world, eventually we all end up in Gan Eden, right? But the process is a little bit complicated. Right before Gan Eden, people go through Gehenom, which is called in common language hell, right? They're going through hell. What is happening in Gehenom? What's happening there? The soul who was in this world and did wonderful and good things, which the soul is going to get paid, rewarded for in Gan Eden, when we get to Gan Eden. But it also collected some garbage and some stains and some dirt, and that stain or dirt has to be cleaned up. So we have to go through hell. We have to go through Gehenom, and a person can go through that section in the afterlife for up to 12 months. So up to 12 months, someone can sit in Gehenom, and that's why, by the way, when someone passes away, the Kaddish is being recited only for 11 months minus a day. So nobody is going to be, because what Kaddish does is, Kaddish is helping the soul of the deceased to escape the trouble and the turmoil of hell, of Gehenom. So when someone is saying Kaddish, there is a saying that there are like 15 or 16 Kaddishim per day that a mourner is supposed to say. And those 16 Kaddishim, each Kaddish is taking care of 1.5 hours in hell. So if you say the 16 Kaddishim, the person you say Kaddish for is being escaping the trouble of an hour and a half. And if you miss one, so they don't. But the person can be in this kind of a location in hell up to 12 months. But we don't want to say that anyone is really using all of the allotted time, so to speak, in hell. They always getting off earlier. So we only say 11 months minus a day to indicate that the person who we're saying Kaddish after is not the worst of the worst. He doesn't need a full time. He doesn't need 12 months in hell. So that is stage 1, and then heaven, and then Gan Eden is stage 2. But there is before that another stage, because Gehenom is not punishment. is to rectify a situation. It's cleansing. It's a place where the soul is being cleansed. It's also a privilege to be there, in a way. It's better to avoid it, better to go straight to heaven. But someone who needs cleansing, that does the job. And so it's a privilege in a way to go through there and be able to be cleansed and then released from that period, from that quarantine period, and go to heaven, to Gan Eden. But those people who really, really, really did, more than usual, they are not even being admitted to hell. Imagine that. Someone who's so bad, who's not even being admitted to hell, and they're going through a worse punishment, such bad punishment that they really are praying to run away from where they are now to hell, because hell is better. It's nuts, right? This is the description that being told to us by the Kabbalists. So, and what is that punishment? What is that? That is punishment. That is not cleansing. That is being done as a punishment. And that is called kafakela, the slingshot. Okay? What is a slingshot? The slingshot is when the soul is being, because when the person is alive, the soul is grounded in a body. When the person died, the soul is flying around. And it's supposed to fly around and go to hell and then to heaven, right? And so what happens with the slingshot, it doesn't get there. It's not grounded anywhere. It's just being thrown all over the world. And it's being bounced. And the soul is feeling sorry for itself for not being in a body because they cannot enjoy life. And they're looking for physical, materialistic things that obviously don't do any good to any soul. They don't do any good to anybody either, but at least when we hear, we can fool ourselves to think that it does. But the soul that is sitting in kafakela, it's being thrown in kafakela all around, is feeling attraction to physical, to the physical world, and that tortures the soul. And the rabbis are telling us that this is the biggest torture that someone can go through is kafakela, and they have listing all kinds of what people get it for, which I don't know, so whatever. But the point is that it's from here. So she's saying that you, David, because even though you were chased by men, she didn't mention who. She was chased by Shaul, and Shaul wanted to get your soul. Don't worry about your soul. First of all, God is going to protect it here, and in the world to come, it's also going to be protected, and you're going to be in the bundle of life. But all of your enemies who wants to get you, they're going to get the run for the money, so to speak. They're going to be thrown with kafakela, with the hollows of the sling back and forth and back, and be tortured that way. And this, Mr. David, be careful. If you don't want to also, God forbid, have that, you better not kill this Naval, because you don't have any justification to do so. And finally, she mentioned, so this is the second era of his life, the time that he was chased with Shaul. The first era was the time that he killed Goliath. And now she's telling him, and listen, you are destined. And again, this is another reason why she's called a prophetess, because she was talking about the future. Although it was known already that he's going to be the king. And just like in modern politics, the people were very polarized. Very, very polarized. You have those who were swore by David and those who swore at David, and they really, and especially she, coming from the house of Naval. Naval was David's cousin, right, distant cousin. She heard it at home, the disdain that her husband had to David. But she knew that David is indeed going to be the king. So she said, "Ve'aya ki yaseh Hashem le'adoni," verse 30, "Kechol asher diber et hatova alecha vetzivcha lenagid al Yisrael." And when God is going to fulfill what He promised to you, and He is going to He's going to make you the ruler of the people of Israel. So after mentioning those three eras and those how God is protecting David throughout, it says, "Velo tiyeh zot lecha lefuka." This should not be a stumbling block for you. In Hebrew, the kneecap is called pika. That's the kneecap. And when someone has trembling in his knees, it's called pik birkaim. Birkaim is our knees, and pik means trembling of the knees. So velo tiyeh zot lecha lefuka. Fuka, it's the pika, is the trembling of the knees. You're not going to be stumbled. Please don't do it. Don't kill Naval, because it's going to be a stumbling block for you, and you're going to falter from it. Lemichshol lev. It's going to fool you, and it's not only going to falter you, as you walk. It's going to falter your heart, because in your heart you think that you are right, but you're not. And this is the amazingness of David, that his ability to listen to something like that. Imagine somebody, you're on the way to retaliate, you're on the way to take revenge, not to take revenge, to set him to give someone what they deserve, and you feel that you're right, you feel that you're king, you feel that you're in charge, and then this lady comes to you and tells you, you're going to falter. You're going to falter in your heart. You're going to falter in your life. Just don't do it. And you're going to vilishpoch dam chinam. You're going to spill blood for nothing. Uleoshia adoni lo vehitiv Hashem laadoni vezacharta et amatecha. So he said, but if you are going to not do it and avoid doing this, and you're going to be, God is going to redeem you and is going to reward you. And then she adds three words that she is instantly being punished for. V'zacharta et amatecha, and you should remember me. She already felt that there is a connection, and she already felt that she have a chance, and she would like to spend be married to this man, and she knew that her husband is probably not the best guy in town. She knew him inside out, so to speak. So she's putting in a good word for herself. So this is not really what she was sent to do. So Vayomer David. So David is answering her. He's accepting everything she said, but the Tanakh is dropping one letter of her name here, to make sure that she shouldn't have said that. Vayomer David le'Avigal, instead of Avigail with two yuds, one yud is being taken away as a slight punishment for her for not for not ending the prophecy where it should be, and sort of added something on her own for her own benefit. Vayomer Hashem le'Avigail, Baruch Hashem Elokei Israel. So David right away swears. This is a very good way, at least in those days, to keep your word. Because if you swore to God, nobody wants to not fulfill their shvuah, their promise, their swearing. And here he's using all the name of gods that are, Baruch Hashem Elokei Israel, both names of God, because it's a stronger shvuah, it's a stronger swearing, and says, and thank you God, he says, David, that he sent you, asher shlachach hayom hazeh likrati, that he sent you today to be in front of me, ubaruch te'amech, and he's thanking her for her reasoning. He was listening to what she was saying. He was thanking her for her reasoning, because she was very methodical about it. He was he had those three reasons why he thought that he should go and kill Naval, and she basically took him out one by one. וברוכה את אשר כיליתיני היום הזה מבוא בדמים והושעתי לך, and thank you, and you're blessed yourself, you're blessed for restraining me, or for preventing me from getting involved in an act that will spill blood, and you saved me. ועולמך השם אלוקי ישראל אשר מנעני מהרע אותך, and God forbid that I'm going to, and he also swore that he's not going to do anything bad to her, because as you recall, she was saying that, it's my fault, so, God is prevent me from doing that as well. כילולי מיהרת ותבות לקראתי, כי אם נותר לנבל הדור הבוקר משתין בקיר, because if you didn't, it's good you came, and I'm definitely not going to fault you for it and hurt you for it, because if you wouldn't have, nothing would have been remain of Naval till the morning. And then he took what she brought. He took the food and the gifts that she brought. ויקח דוד מידה את אשר הביאה לו, ולה אמר עלי לשלום. So he took it from her and told her, you should go back home. ראי שמעתי בקולך ואשא פנייך. I heard what you're saying, and I respect you, respect your wishes, respect your face. Panaich, but the word va'esa means in the future, because he also was a little bit of a prophet, David, right? So he also felt that it's not their last meeting, they'll meet again. So, and I'm going to esav, and it's coming from the word nisuin, marriage. Eventually you'll be my wife. So I'm going to marry your face, so to speak. So then Abigail rushes home. Mission accomplished. ותבוא אביגיל אל נבל, והנה לו משתה בביתו כמשתה המלך. And she comes back home, and he is partying like there is no other party, like a king, like one of those parties that Achashverosh put together come to mind. משתה המלך, right? And ולב נבל טוב עליו, and he felt good about himself. והוא שיכור, and he was drunk, as drunk can be, עד מאוד. ולא הגידה לו דבר קטן וגדול לדור הבוקר, and she told him nothing about what happened tonight. That she had to go, and she had to plea, and she met David, and the whole discussion and back and forth. She was gone for several hours, and nothing. He was so drunk and didn't pay attention to her coming or going. She didn't tell him anything. Smart person, smart woman. ויהי בבוקר, when the morning came, בצאת היין מנבל, when he slept off the wine, right? He woke up with a headache. ותגד לו אשתו את הדברים האלה. She told him exactly what she did, and she basically told him, I took a lot of food and I gave those people because it wasn't safe what you did. What does he do? It doesn't, instead of telling her, thank you, really appreciate it, you saved my life. וימת ליבו בקרבו והוא היה כאב, and so his heart died inside of him. He became very, very upset at the monetary expense that it took to save his life. What an idiot. והוא היה לאבן, and the heart became, stone. Basically, he got a heart attack. And the heart stopped functioning, and it all because he was very, very upset at what she did, that she took all this money and gave it to David. David, by the way, only took a small thing from her for himself. It says, what's the word over there? He gave, the rabbis are saying, indicating that she brought something small, because otherwise she wouldn't allow to take, her spouse's money, bank account, and give it over. It was small enough that it was okay to do, but he didn't like that. And God gave him 10 days to do tshuva, 10 days to change his way, but he didn't do it. So after 10 days, Naval actually passed away from his heart attack, and at that point David heard. Vayishma David, is the rabbi here? I'm not sure. Is the rabbi among us? You're here. Oh, beautiful. So anyway, we'll just read the last pasuk here, 39. Vayishma David. So David heard that Naval passed away. There is a whole chapter in Tehillim that mentions exactly what David was feeling at that time. We'll maybe mention it next time. And he was thanking God. Baruch Hashem, God basically fought his fight. Baruch Hashem asher rav et riv cherpati miyad Naval. That God took revenge, just like she said that all of the enemies of David are going to be taken care of by God. She wouldn't have to. He wouldn't have to do anything. Ve'etavdo chasach mira'ah, and God saved David himself from doing the wrong thing. Ve'etraat Naval yeshiv Hashem berosho, and whatever bad thing Naval did, God gave him back in his head. Vayishlach David vaydaber ba v'yigal lakachta lo leisha, and then he sent instantly and asked her to join him as his wife. We will talk about David's wives at the time. He was married to Michal. That's last time we spoke, but that's not exactly the situation right now. Anyway, it's all yours, Rabbi. Conduct the wedding.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dror.
Thank you, guys.